This one I'm looking at here, right adjacent to Big Bell.
Yep.
Is that the favourite grandchild in the company at the moment? Like, do you see what do you see there that gives that? Does that proximity to Big Bell mean anything effectively?
Yeah, look, it does. Most of the discoveries, recent discoveries being made in WA are often along strike. Some of them are being made by the companies that are actually mining. They're being made along strike, adjacent to, underneath existing mines.
This is general advice and my opinions only. This episode's company has paid me for this interview. I may be long, short, or hold an interest in stocks or CFDs mentioned. Past performance isn't reliable. The interviewee's views are their own, not necessarily mine. LEVRD operates as a corporate authorised representative 00131 8377 under AFSL 548573. You can find our financial services guide via the LEVRD website, link in the show notes.
Righto, bag holders and stop loss aiders. We're heading up to the Murchison in the gold territory. And, mate, what are we? This is how we like it. About 6 mil market cap, 2.9 in the bank. Golden Dragon Mine and ticker GDR. Rhod Grivas, how are you, mate? Welcome to LEVRD.
Good, mate. Great to be with you.
Yes, thank you, mate. But you are 35 years. I've got on the notes in WA Gold, part of discovery of Rubicon, Hornet and Pegasus at Kundana. Mate, you're heading up to the Murchison now after doing all that. What's attracted you to this district?
Yeah, look, 35 years in the industry's taught me there's a lot of opportunities in WA. Love WA, love the gold space. And there's still lots of potential out there. I mean, I think it surprises a few people that, we've been exploring this part of the world for, 70, 80 years seriously. But it's all about, that potential. There's a tendency from geos, explorers to just concentrate on what everyone else has looked at before. And what really excites me is the virgin discoveries, or the opportunity to make virgin discoveries, greenfields discoveries, basically places where no one's looked before, and that's where my success has been built previously. Like both at the stuff around Kundana and previous to that, the stuff around Peak Hill was virgin discoveries, no evidence of any superficial mineralisation, and that's what excites me about this project. It's obviously got location. It's near Big Bell, long strike from Big Bell. It's got the shears that run through it. It's got, a lot of exploration done previously, which we're working on, and they may turn up deposits. But what really excites me is looking under a bit of cover in areas where there hasn't been much work done before.
And looking at the size of your tenure here, like it's similar to. Like there's big amounts of tenure you can get in the Murchison. Like you look at how much new Murchison's got up the road there, and you look at, I guess, the success that they've had, and I've got yours on screen here. And that road goes through the Murchison for a bloody reason, because that's where all the gold was.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the poorer cousin. It's still got lots of gold associated with it, but obviously the Kalgoorlie district, that Archean belt there is, where a lot of exploration has been done. That's where everyone focused. But the Murchison has had its fair bit, and there's still opportunities, still lots of opportunities in the Murchison, as we're seeing by the discoveries that are being made.
Yeah, that's you IPO'd this October last year at 20 cents, sitting at 17 now. You're the chairman. Simon Buswell-Smith's the managing director. Did you put all these together and IPO? Was this how did it all work?
No, look, I was actually I've known one of the other directors, Frank Canavo. I actually known his father and his uncle. They made money out of the gilt edge discoveries, the Hornet, Rubicon, and Pegasus discovery back in 2000. And so I've known him for years, and he put this together. And with the fellow director Sam, and they asked me to chair it. And as we've discussed, the thing I liked about it is is the potential there, the opportunity. I just I just get excited looking at it.
Yeah, and so you talked about like where the shear zone sort of along Big Bell, and this is you do have a lot of tenements granted, so we'll go through that, and there's drill results to go through. But I guess probably the more recent 17th of June was the new tenement application that you've pretty much got adjacent to Big Bell. I'll bring it up on screen here. So that's so 1073 and 1072 down here. So, mate, talk us. So I'm assuming those ones that aren't hatched, they're already granted, and those ones that hatched are in progress. So what stage are those applications at?
So the 1073, there's a native title party that in order to get granted, you've got to have agreements with native title parties, and it's a different native title party to 1071, 1072. And so we're in discussions with that group to get that granted. I mean, we've got agreements going backwards and forwards, so we engage with them, and it's granted once that's happened. Yeah.
Okay. So that and for what you've got, this one I'm looking at here, right adjacent to Big Bell.
Yep.
Is that the favourite grandchild in the company at the moment? Like, do you see what do you see there that gives that? Does that proximity to Big Bell mean anything effectively?
Yeah, look, it does. Most of the discoveries, recent discoveries being made in WA are often along strike. Some of them are being made by the companies that are actually mining. They're being made along strike, adjacent to, underneath existing mines. And as you know from your background, miners tend to mine, explorers tend to explore. And so, Westgold's obviously focused on revenue and expenditure and so forth. I'm not saying they're not exploring, but their focus is more the mining side of things. And so we see a great opportunity. There's work on this tenure, but we see a great opportunity to take it to the next level. And you never know what gets turned up in and around existing mines.
Yeah, well, you've seen what their focus is on, assets like Peak Hill and, everything that's gone into Great Boulder, Valiant, Chalice. That's not their. You can have 10 projects if you're going to only look at 6 of them. The other 4 are sitting there doing nothing, so someone else may as well do it.
Exactly, and that's just their focus. I mean, if they get 10 rigs, are you going to put it on converting resources to reserves, or are you going to put it on, upgrading your resources, or are you going to go out and do some greenfields exploration? Usually, it's the earlier stuff. It's trying to upgrade your resources to reserves.
Right, let's get on to the drilling, mate. So you have been punching some holes. So the Kundana tenement, so 4 metres at 17.6. So that was part of 12 metres at 6.5. So take us through this. It looks like a bit of pretty close to the surface, pretty sort of shallow dipping potential. How did these come up with? Was that the maiden drilling here?
Yeah, that's right. So it was the first time we consolidated all the tenure. You probably can't see it on the image we were looking at before, but there was a little mining lease there, which hadn't previously, a bit of a postage stamp mining lease, which was held by one company and the stuff around it was held by another. We've been able to consolidate too, and that allows us to test this along strike. And so there was some numbers in Kundana previously, historically, and we've just followed along from those numbers and been able to drill outside the mining lease for the first time.
So looking at these ones, like the top 3 holes, sort of, 4 metres at 0.3 didn't really deliver much, but it looks like it's really improving at depth. What's sort of the structure of this? Is it similar to? Is there like a supergene enrichment, like similar to what we're seeing up in that area? Can you describe the deposit for us?
Well, what we know from previous drilling and from the early stuff, the first phase, like this is the 3rd or 4th phase of drilling that we've done, is that we're now starting to hit it in fresh rock as we go deeper. And so there was a bit of supergene enrichment that you naturally get in the oxide zone. But as we've gone into fresh rock, that's where we've started to hit the more discrete higher grade zones and getting an understanding, veining and so forth, that we're getting a better understanding of the orientation. It's not, we haven't nailed it yet. We haven't answered all the questions. There's always twists and turns in this game, but we just need to chase it along strike and see how the grades, whether they hold or improve.
So looking at this long section probably describes it better. So that 500 metres of strike, is that sort of thing I'm looking at in the purple, is that sort of the only high grade shoot you've defined so far?
That's the highest grade shoot.
Yeah.
That's over 50 gram metres. So that's, like equivalent to 2 at 25, or 5 at 10. So that's juicy stuff. But then there's the stuff in red, the red highlighted areas, which are the 20 to 50. That's still underground material. So while we talk about 500 metres of strike, you can see that sort of purple zone is highlighting 150 metres of strike. So we've got to chase that, and it's sort of suggesting that there might be several parallel zones. You've got that purple zone that you could see there, and in the open arrow just below it, in red, is suggesting that there might be another zone, another vein, dipping and plunging in the same orientation.
Yeah, and was this just auger or RC? I see it's only like.
No, this was RC. This is all RC.
Yep. Okay. So what's the follow up on this? Is there more? I guess we punching more holes below that sort of 50, 60 metre point to see if that shoot continues, or where are you targeted next?
Yeah, that's spot on. So we actually need a bigger RC rig. We just finished a program where we used the same rig that we did a lot of this drilling, and we need the bigger rig to be able to punch through to those depths. And so we'll bring that rig in the next few months. And it is about chasing it along strike, but also trying to get a better understanding of some of the other shoots that we've got there, and some of the strike extent to the south and to the north.
Yeah. Mate, bearing bore. Have I pronounced that right? Bearing bore?
Yep, bearing bore, yep.
So that is, what do we got? So that's about 400 metres from Kundana. So take us through that one, mate. We'll go through the results. We've got, what'd you get? 4 metres at 4.36, 20 at 1.1. So what are we looking at here?
So look, I think it's important to understand that we often make these mistakes as geos, but bearing bore is obviously the closest bore, and historically, this target got the name bearing bore. But when we talk about camps scale, it's actually the whole target area is called bearing bore, and within that, Kundana sits within bearing bore, Piston sits in there, and Curtis Find. And so the bearing bore is a much larger target area. There's much more gold. And we need to test some of these key targets within there, which is what our priority is. We want to get on to test Piston. We want to do some more drilling at Curtis Find as well. Yeah,
and so because what is this one? We're just looking at the location. Like, how does it compare to Kundana? Like, is there probably yet to find one of the more higher grade shoots, but this is going to be a lot more scale, what you're saying?
Yeah, but I mean, the mistake we don't want to make is just targeting on Kundana and thinking Kundana is all we've got.
Yeah.
There's a bit more detective work that we've got to do to understand the relationship between Kundana, bearing bore, the prospect, Curtis Find, and we're starting to see sort of a parallel orientation. Do they link up? How do they link up? The dolerite, we've got a dolerite there, which some of the mineralisation sits in that dolerite, but what else is there? And that's why we did the auger program that I'm sure we'll talk about, and that's why we'll do an air core program next cab off the rank to see if there is a bigger sister, if you like, to Kundana. or the mother lode, if I use the classic cliche. But is there something bigger and better there? It's not to say Kundana is not fantastic and we're not going to keep drilling it, but we just want to make sure that we look at all the potential of that camp.
So, because if you're right next to Big Bell, because Big Bell's probably most more well known as like a big underground system.
Yep.
I guess limited cash, you can only drill pretty shallow at the moment. But like, are you predicting you're going to find stuff in the top 100 metres in this region, or is like when you're talking a mother lode, are we talking more a lot deeper into the fresh rock where the game changer comes?
Oh, look, we've gone back to first principles. We set about looking at the historical data, getting independent assistance to look at the historical data, came up with 14 targets, which we'll test. But we're also doing the going back to first principles, doing ground gravity, doing auger, to understand what the regolith could tell us, what the near surface material tell us, but at the same time we're testing these targets, and so there's deeper targets. Evolution was in here with a joint venture with Enterprise before we acquired this ground, and they were looking deeper for Big Bell type analogies, which they found. They found that it's a technical success if we use that terminology. They hit the shear zone. So there's all those opportunities. But as I say, our focus, we don't want to just focus on one. We want to test it. We want to test it all and give ourselves the best chance. And that auger sort of complements what we're finding. That 3 kilometre long zone, it sits nicely over bearing bore. It actually gives us zones that we can focus on, some that have been drilled previously, but some that are completely new targets that we'll get to test.
So that the auger side, mate. Here's the geology time. Geologists love this sort of stuff.
Yeah,
auger anomalies.
I don't want to bore you too much, but we love it.
But it doesn't excite the investors too much. But the 827 hole auger program, and how does this world work? Like you're talking, getting parts per billion results, which is, it's not not bloody visible gold or anything. But what information are you getting about these pathfinders? Because like you're looking for, like, you're getting arsenic and antimony. Like when that stuff's popping up, what information is it giving you for where a prospective target might be?
I think the first thing to say is, and I've been labouring this point a bit, the first thing to say is that we're doing the RC drilling. We're up to our 4th or 5th program of RC drilling. So we're doing the sexy stuff, the stuff that shareholders like to see, and we've talked about some of the high-grade hits. In the background at the same time, we're going to do some of the more boring stuff, some of the stuff the baseline stuff that geologists like. And that's what this auger program's all about. It's about getting layers of information that complement and confirm what we're already seeing in the drilling that we're doing, and maybe show us a different target. And that's what it's doing. It's measuring the top metre of soil, and it's finding fractions of gold, which indicate, now gold's not very mobile, but arsenic and antimony are more mobile, which is why we use those as pathfinders to help us. But it gives us a target to follow up, which we'll follow up with aircore, which we're doing in the next few months, the next couple of months. Yeah. And that will deliver, while the shareholders may be looking at the when's the RC drilling happening, when are you doing something else. This is the sort of thing that gets me excited. This is the sort of thing that actually is going to deliver a virgin discovery. It's actually doing that baseline work. And so we'll do it at the same time as we're continuing to RC drill.
So is that like the results sort of around Kundana, where, like you've demonstrated there's gold at Kundana, is there, high elevated arsenic and stibnite in that region that correlates to, this system behaves this way?
Correct. And a lot of this is built on publish information on Big Bell as well, and some other a lot of other deposits in the Archean in WA. So we build off this information. We use the pathfinders that replicate other targets elsewhere in the region and in the state. And so you've got that orientation, that sort of northeast orientation you see there. The dotted line is the trend axis. We know there is a major shear that passes proximal to this, and so there's evidence of gold in the drilling. But is that the best place to look? And we'll go in and target air core drilling.
Yeah,
in and around these.
Is the power of once you got all this data with the between the RC, the air core, the auger, all the geophys, how does the world of AI work these days? I know there's products out there that can give you process this information pretty quickly and give you prospective targets. Is that something companies are employing these days, or I know it's sort of been around in different forms for many years with machine learning, but is it a bit of a weapon these days?
Look, look. Ultimately, it will be, but it's all about the information you put into the AI to help you interrogate these data sets, and that's the key. That's where geologists make their money. That's where experience comes in, and in a sense, that's what Simon and I are doing. So we're looking at the regolith, and we're trying to interpret what an anomaly means. Is it just a flash in the pan? There's nothing there, or is it significant? And it's significant if other layers of information complement what you're finding. And look, can you train AI to do it? Absolutely, you can train AI to do it. But it's a bit like being a detective, really, a forensic detective. You're given not much information. I mean, we can't, we're just given surface information, and occasionally we put a drill hole in, and we're given a model, we're given a geological model to use, and we're given our experience, and basically we work with that. If you think AI can help a detective, solve a crime, then absolutely AI can help us find deposits in this environment.
So looking at this on screen, which is, I guess, those purple bits are showing you higher grade parts of the soil anomalies, and you've got Curtis Fine, Bearing Bore, Kundana and Piston. So if I'm looking on screen here and looking at this bit down in the south, in the middle, and over here to the west that haven't got a deposit name on it, is that the sort of stuff you'd be going straight to start punching some holes in?
Yep. To meet up with Simon, to have this discussion with him and his team, but the one that stands out based on what I'm looking at, based on what we're looking at, that piston orientation is the most standout orientation, even though it's not as thick as the one you pointed out near Curtis Fine or to the west of Curtis Fine. It's on the right trend. It's the same trend that you see at Kundana, and we know from historical drilling at Piston that's a nice trend. So that northeast orientation is our preferred orientation.
Yep.
And then, yes, we'll put some holes into the Curtis Fine trend, although there's a bit more outcrop. This is where you've got to use all the layers of information to make your decision. You just don't go and drill, the soil anomalies. You need the other information. And some of the other information, the geological mapping, is sort of suggesting that there are, some of those are better targets than others.
Yeah, and I guess how do you're using information from the previous orientations of what you know there, like knowing which side, which angle to put the drill rig on? Like, is it a bit wildcat at the start, or you're like, right, based on what we've found already, we'll just start here from the outcrop and have a go at this angle? Is it and fingers crossed?
Look, sometimes you get a bit of an indication. I think in 38 years of drilling, I think on 2 occasions I've drilled the wrong way. And that's handy. And that's not blowing my trumpet. It's just that there is a bit of information. Sometimes you'll have a shaft, an old historic shaft there that you can look at the rocks in the shaft and you can see the orientation in the shaft. Sometimes it's based on previous drilling. A lot of the time it's based on previous drilling and what they intersected. And so it's a combination of things that you use to determine it. But yeah, I always say, geologists, don't be scared to get things wrong, because you can always turn the rig around the other way and give it a go the other way if you've hit it from the wrong side.
Right. Let's just put the money on it now. That's going to be the only two you'll ever do the wrong way.
Yeah, that's it.
Never happen again.
Yep, spot on.
Very good. Mate, you've had some dosh in the door. So Chengtun Gold. So Chinese mob coming in, strategic investors. So they've taken 2.2 million bucks at 20 cents. So it was at, I guess it was at the listing price, but you were trading below it. So 17.6% premium. There, I guess why the we've seen the Chinese pop up in the Murchison a bit lately with Mika as well. So I guess why bringing in a Chinese investor compared to a local institution, for instance?
Yeah, look, getting institutional investors in a junior explorer with a market cap that we've got, it's not the easiest thing. I've obviously been associated with listed companies for a long time, and it's not the easiest thing to do. So in some senses, you take if someone shows interest, you take them on. You take them on because it builds so much confidence for the investor, knowing that the cornerstones looked at it, done all the due diligence, got a geological team behind them, and looked at it and gone, oh, geez, we like what they've got. We're prepared to put our hand in their pockets and invest in it. So it's opportunistic. We have Golden Dragon by its name. We have quite a few Chinese investors already, or Chinese and Australian investors, and so it was natural with our association with Richlink and Sam Zhang to discuss interest being shown by Shengtung.
What's their pro forma holding in the company?
It's around 19.89%.
Okay,
not around. It's 19.89%.
Yeah, and so they've got obviously they get a board seat while they'll hold above 15% and a 2-year standstill. So is that effectively 2 years escrow?
Basically, it's 2 years escrow.
Yeah,
it's a win-win for both parties. I mean, it shows their commitment, and we know we get two years of their attention.
Yeah. Okay, and then I guess the other interesting part is the redemption right. So it's saying effectively if a government agency compels them to sell the shares within 200 business days, Golden Dragon gets to buy back the shares at 20 cents, effectively what they've bought them at. So it reads like it's a hedge against any FIRB issues. Is that right?
Yeah, it's basically our understanding, our advice, our legal advice is that it's unlikely to draw any attention to FIRB. But historically there has been FIRB has shown interest in Chinese companies. Like this is their first investment in projects in Australia. I mean, they've invested in ASX listed company before, but this is their first investment with Australian assets. But look at the size of the company. We've got no critical minerals. They're not state owned. They're listed, Hong Kong listed. So we're not expecting any issues with this.
Oh, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, like FIRB, I think gold's on the lower end of what FIRB cares about in commodities in Australia, from what I've been told.
Yeah. Look, I don't have the answer to that, but that doesn't surprise me. It seems to be extremely large companies with extremely large asset bases in Australia that they're concerned about, taking pieces of Rio or BHP, that sort of size, or in more recent times, critical minerals that the Chinese are mine, develop and manufacture. The sort of the critical minerals, the rare earths, and so forth that there's been concern about. But gold, as you say, I suspect is on the bottom of the list.
Yeah. Balance sheet, mate, quarterly come out today. So you got 2.9 in the bank. Does that include or not include what Shengtun have put in?
No, it doesn't include Shengtun.
Okay.
So that'll be on top of that.
Okay. So that's 5.1 mil in the bank. So when does the Shengtun money settle?
Should be within the next few days.
Okay, sweet. So 5.1 mil, and God, you'll be nearly, so you'll be about a 2 mil EV post that, I'd say. So I guess with auger and the shallow drilling, how much runway have you got with that? Like you're going to be able to get a bit done with that amount of money, considering the types of drilling you're doing?
Yeah, look, absolutely. It just gives us it gives us backup, I suppose. It gives us the ability to push harder. Push to get 1073 granted and the tenure granted close to Big Bell. It gives us opportunities to do some more expensive sort of exploration, be a bit more ambitious with our sort of exploration strategy. Maybe look across the fence at some other opportunities that are out there. We'll once the new director comes on board, we'll sit down and relook at our corporate strategy, build on the existing corporate strategy, and see where that takes us. But certainly, their interest in us is to underpin that exploration over the next 2 years. And of course, like everybody, they want to see resources. And reserves. Yeah,
so I guess the parent company of Shengtun, do you believe their motive is to start, getting access to Australian mines, start mining gold in Australia? Like they're not in this for investment. Are they in more for an investment purpose or a mining purpose, do you think?
Look, I can't speak for them except to look at their history. Which I haven't looked at in depth, but they are a miner in China. They've expanded recently. They acquired a TSX listed company back earlier this year with a gold mine in Democratic Republic of Congo. They took a stake in Theta, which has got a gold project in southern Africa. And I suspect that they've wanted exposure to Australia, and I think they're dipping their toe in Australia in this way. But I really can't speak for them.
Yeah. For your tenure, mate, just ownership wise. So I guess there's some that are like you own 80% of, and the vendor owns the remaining 20%. Which tenements are they on the list?
Yeah, you've caught me out a bit here. The main Q projects, so 1070, 1, 2, and 3. So the focus, basically what we've been talking about, if you pull out that image. So those three large areas. That's we currently hold 80% of that. And then the new application down near Big Bell, we have 100% of that.
Okay, so the hatch one bottom left, that will be 100%, and all this remainder, including 1073, is 80%.
Correct.
Yeah,
correct.
And who is the vendor?
It's a guy by the name of Bruce Legendre, a prospector who's been in the WA space for decades. Really nice guy. We've done deals with him before. Really easy to work with, and really understands the space.
Yeah, and so like a possible future pathway, acquiring the remaining 20 years and having him as a shareholder, or that's something way down the line that you'll be thinking of.
Based on his past deals, I think there's an opportunity to acquire that 20% down the track.
Yep. Yeah. Oh,
I
well,
mean, the deal was done to give us, it was a pretty cheap entry. I think we paid him 200 cash and 250 grand's worth of shares to get this project, which at the time we did it, it was just before gold, went on the tear. So it was good timing. And that's why you do those sorts of deals. He was keen to stay exposed to the exploration success. But look, down the track, we'll have a conversation with him.
Yep. Native title side for exploration. I guess we've seen the work that Great Boulder have had to put in to try and convert their E to an M, which is still ongoing at Sidewell. When you're for the drilling side of things, I guess your relationships with the Wadjuri Yamaji people, which are and the Yagunga, God, I've probably bloody butchered that, but two parties that you've got to deal with. When you're drilling holes and getting drill pads approved and everything, I guess how's that relationship going? And is it something that you just got to be on top of all the time?
Yeah, look, they're parties we've got to talk to get the tenements granted. You have to, as I said earlier, you have to sign a native title agreement, which we've done on 1071, 1072. And they've been great to deal with. And then when you want to do a drilling program under their native title agreement, when you want to do some ground disturbing work, as we call it, you need to get them to come out and do a heritage survey and make sure that there's no native title, sites on the ground. That's been pretty streamlined. There's a cost associated with it, understandably, but we've been able to engage with them on two occasions now, I think 3 occasions actually, and they're soon to come back out again to give us some more access to Piston and hopefully Jeffrey's well.
Yeah. So I guess when you're going through that that stage, like, it's in your best interest to, if you can drill as many holes in one area to mitigate the costs of getting the heritage surveys done, or is it that's the ideal world, but probably from a geological perspective, not as practical?
No, look, the key is that you need to allow time and cost for doing the clearances, for getting the tenements granted and doing the clearances, and that's what we've set about doing. We're always sort of one step ahead, knowing what the targets is. But no, it's not driven by we've got access here, so let's drill here. No, it's got to be driven by the potential, by the exploration potential.
Yeah. So next news flow coming up, mate. What can we expect? When is some drilling and some assays coming through? That's what the punters want to know.
That's right. Well, we completed a drilling program. I think off the top of my head, we completed it early in July.
Yep.
It's normally a 6-week turnaround for results, and so we've got assays in. And so you should see some results coming through pretty soon. We've got an air core rig booked, which will get out there and start drilling. And then we're also looking at putting in place another RC rig to drill more at Kundana, more at Bearing Bore, and anywhere else that there are targets. And I think, as I said, I alluded to, I think we're finalising discussions with native title parties to do another clearance program to give us access to even more of the tenure.
Yep. Oh, very good, mate. And I guess what's been you're talking to the investors and everything now that you've got a strategic in, you got, $5 million cash. That'll obviously, once those shares settle, that'll bump you up to $7 or so million market cap. But I guess when you're neutral EV and you've found gold already, what's everyone looking for?
Now, look, it just takes time. We've got really strong, tight shareholder base at the moment. There's not a lot of liquidity out there, which is great to have, but it takes a while to sort of move the dial on share price. So we're part of the reason why I'm talking to you, Matt, is that we want to get people's attention. Part of the reason why I'm going to Perth next week is, Perth's a great place. It's got some fantastic investors. People who understand WA gold, better than any investor anywhere else in the country. So, we're going to get in front of those, and it just takes time. They've got a lot of choice. The volatility of the markets, the global markets. I don't need to tell you. You're dealing with it day to day. It's just getting their attention. And to me, what I've learned over the years is you keep the message. You keep sticking to the message. And the message we're giving here is that this is a fantastic project area. There's a lot of exploration to do. We're going to keep delivering results on a regular basis, and eventually it'll come around.
Yeah. It's amazing how the pullback in gold, how the arse just falls out of everything from the bottom up in terms of love. Like it'd be, gold sitting back at 4,000 and you're trying to get the attention of gold investors to think long term. They're like, nah, not interested.
Absolutely. So part of what I'm going to do next week is talk to, geologists as well, mates of mine, guys I've known in the industry a long period of time. Because once you get the thing about WA investors is that they always know on GA to call. So someone brings out some results and they call their mate. What do these results mean? And so I've got to sort of educate the Perth geos as well as to what we've got. Because they know what you're talking about, and then the message gets out when you start having success and continue to have success. Then, WA investors can't help themselves, even no matter what the gold market's like.
Yeah, well, you'll have a YouTube link to hand over to them as well, mate. It's like, here, whatever you want to know, it's on here.
Yeah, exactly.
No, Rod, thanks, Pete, for coming on Levered, mate, and hope those bloody, the old lie detector keeps coming up with a bit of gold for you up in Kew. Yes, best of luck.
Spot on. Excellent. Great talking to you.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Matt.